Welcome back to another episode of How Did They Grow? I created this podcast because I wanted you to learn how other coaches, freelancers, service providers, and course sellers are growing their business, landing 10 to 20 new clients every single month, paying them 50, 100, 200K months. See, if they've done it, you can too. And that's just the reality. And I want you to listen to these podcasts to understand what strategies are they using, what techniques are they exploring, because it's in these gems that you can apply it to your business and actually scale things up. When you're ready and you feel like you actually want to learn practical, proven methodologies, or even you want to hire a team that can build you a profitable personal brand, book in a chat with our team because we can guarantee you go viral and guarantee you get clients for your business.
Laura, I appreciate you coming on. So you mentioned that you've been single you were single for 11 years before you got your husband. You're a dating coach. You had tons of experience in obviously helping people find that right partner. I want to dive deeper into your 11 years of being single. What was that like?
Oh God, it was horrendous. Oh my God. I can't believe you're starting with this question. What a question to start with. Yeah, 11 years. I look back now because it's weird because we've been together 11 years this year at the end of November. So it's, but because of the job that I'm doing now, I obviously think back to that quite a lot, and I use that story quite a lot in my chat with clients and also my social media and things, because I want people to understand that I get it. I know what it's like to be, when you're single and you don't want to be single. And don't get me wrong, I've got some friends who love being single and they're really happy, and that's great. But if you don't want to be single and you're single, it can be really, really tough. And honestly, God, I feel like all I'm going to do now is start telling you my absolutely shocking dating stories. Some of them just are not suitable for broadcasts, I tell you. But yeah, no, I just made all the wrong decisions. I wasn't happy in myself. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. I wasn't happy where I was living. I think the main thing, I was probably absolutely desperate to be in a relationship. And then if there's anything that's the least attractive thing possible is desperation. And I say this to people all the time. I went to like 37 weddings on my own in like a 9-year period. So for that whole time, all my friends were getting married, having babies, buying houses, all that kind of stuff. And I was still single. And so I was going to all these weddings. Honestly, it was like 37 weddings. My wedding, when we got married, was my 40th wedding. And it was just like, this is ridiculous. I was always on a singles table. I was always having people coming up and saying, I need to set you up with so-and-so, or so-and-so's brother, or so-and-so's uncle. And these people were just horrendous. And you'd be at these weddings just thinking, is this it? Is this what it's come to? And it was just thoroughly depressing. And so that kind of breeds desperation. And then I was just making absolutely diabolical decisions and dating people who were just horrific and just didn't share my value. Now looking back, I wish I could have had a dating coach. I don't know if it was a thing back then, but I wish I'd known, because I could have saved myself a lot of trauma and a lot of mistakes.
So you were kind of feeling frustration, which was then leading to desperation, and people were sensing that, and equally you just didn't like that feeling at the same time.
100%. And the loneliness as well. So if you're seeing everybody around you settling down, having babies, getting married, and you're not, there's a lot of like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not getting married? Why am I not even dating anybody when everybody else is getting married and having babies? What is it about me? So there's a lot of self-doubt that creeps in, a lot of confidence, a lot of self-esteem, self-worth issues. And that's the stuff that I really try and focus on with my clients, because it's a horrible place to be when those things aren't where you want them to be. I know.
Yeah.
And that's when you make poor decisions. And then it just becomes a cycle and you become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. Amazing. So let's talk about that then. Let's talk about the transformation. So what was it that switched to then eventually finding your husband?
Do you know what? It was a change. It was looking and doing something different and realizing that I was the common denominator. I say this to people all the time, like, I finally realized that I was the problem, because your friends love you and they're amazing, but they do things like, I don't know what's wrong with all the guys in Leeds. I was in Leeds at the time. What's wrong with all the guys in Leeds? You're great, you're amazing. I don't understand why you're single. And I get why friends say this, because it's really, they love you and they support you, but it's not really very helpful, because you're like, yeah, I am great. Why can't I meet anybody? What's going on? And actually, sometimes you do have to take a step back and look at what you bring to the table, because there's always a reason for a behaviour, and there's often there's often things that have happened to us in, in our early experiences of relationships, or, even some, a bit of psychology going on, but, like even in our parents' relationships and how we've learned about relationships. And so there is a lot of stuff that we need to think about with relationships, but I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
No, we were just discussing kind of what was it specifically that changed. And you obviously talked about the fact that, you spotted you're the common denominator.
Yeah, thank you. Bring me back. So I basically decided that I needed to, because I dated pretty much every single guy in Leeds, and they just weren't right. I needed to leave. So I basically was like, right, I need to leave. So I've been in Leeds for a very, very long time. I decided to go traveling again. So I packed up my backpack and I went off on my own, which now looking back again was quite wild because I was really lonely, right? So I decided to pack up my rucksack and go off on my own. I went to South America. Then I went to Australia, New Zealand, and came back via Asia. And I also went to Antarctica, which was super cool. But I was on my own a lot, and it just exacerbated the loneliness. But it was really, really good for me because it really kind of allowed me a bit of time to think and reflect and really process. I decided that I wasn't going to date anybody. I wasn't going to be looking for somebody, because leading up to that, I've been looking all the time, and people say things like, he'll turn up when you're least expecting it.
Yeah,
this kind of crap just, oh God, honestly, I hate that. Honestly, me too. So I was like, right, I'm not looking. And it was ridiculous. So I thought, right, I'm actually going to be honest with myself. I say, right, I'm giving myself this year to go away. It ended up being about 8 months, but I'm going to go away for this period of time, and I'm actually not going to look. I'm going to go see all these amazing places, do all this amazing stuff, think about what it is that I've been doing wrong, think about where I want to go with my life. And so I did that, and I had the best time ever. It was incredible, and I met some amazing people, and I really sorted myself out, and I really got to focus on what made me me, what made me tick, and what I was looking for. And then when I came back, I didn't go back to Leeds, and I moved to London, and I had quite a lot of friends in London at that point, and it was just a different life, and it was great. And I was dating in a very, very different way, and I was dating in a very, very different pool. And then I was dating probably there. How long was I there for? Maybe less than 6 months before I met my husband, and then we started dating, and then here we are. Wow. But it was just different, and then he was different, and it was a whole different ball game. But I think it really was just removing myself from the situation that I was in. It's like we talked about earlier, isn't it? It's the routine of the day to day, and things weren't changing. And back then, we were going into the office every day, 9 to 5, and wasn't earning that much money, and it was just going out on the weekend, because I was still in my sort of late 20s, early 30s, going out at the weekend, going to the same places, seeing the same people, and just things just weren't changing, and I was stuck in a rut. Right. So seems like a long time ago now.
When you obviously came back, you were a different person, and now therefore you attracted someone that aligned. Do you think you would have still attracted your husband prior to the traveling experience?
No.
So it really was a shift in the inner world, which then made you feel a different way and then attract in a different way.
Yeah, it was a shift in mindset, and that's what I talk to clients about all the time, because clients always come from a place of lack. There aren't any men left. There aren't any women left. The apps are shit. People are awful. And it's like, well, you only need one. You just need one, and you just need to work out how to find them or attract them to you. And I'm not going to say, the apps aren't, the apps are bad or whatever, but like, people have bad experiences on the apps in real life, and they build up this idea of dating as being awful, so they just come from a place of lack. So the mindset is, I'm never going to meet anyone. I'm going to be alone forever, and it's very difficult then to kind of open that mind to the fact that you might actually meet someone. Because I was like that, but before I went traveling, I was just like, right, I'm giving up, because there's no one out there for me. I'm just going to be alone forever. I'll get some cats, it'll be fine. And then actually, while I was away, like, when you're traveling, your mind opens up to all kinds of things. You do things that you never, I think I said to you before, I went to Antarctica. I never planned to go to Antarctica. It was an opportunity that presented itself, and I went, yeah, brilliant, great, let's go. And I did it. I'd never have done that at home. Yeah. Because it was an opportunity, and the mindset was like, right, yeah, we're going to try new things, we're going to do different things. And then coming back, it was like bringing that mindset back to the UK to try and date with, you know, and I really only date people that shared my values. That was the biggest thing, apart from the mindset, is like being clear on what it was that I was looking for, because all the people I dated before I went traveling just didn't, you know, I spent 2.5 years on a guy who didn't want children, and it was like, well, why am I wasting my time on this guy who really is not all that? But for some reason I couldn't walk away from it, whereas, you know, me coming back from traveling is like, I'm not accepting this crap. I'm not having it. And that's where I want my clients to be. Not accepting the crap.
You say for some reason you were just kind of going along with it, but really it sounds like it was just a self-esteem change. Like prior to traveling, self-esteem was very different to post-traveling. And during your travels, you were building your self-esteem by doing things that were outside of your comfort zone and new experiences. And you're like, wait, you're basically communicating to your subconscious that like, I can do more than I'm capable of.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
Your self-esteem is raised, you come back, you're in a position of power, you understand like, I am worthy, I am enough, I'm not going to tolerate X, Y, Z. And now you're attracting from a different place. So it sounds like that's kind of how it played out.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And that's, but you know, I'm also really mindful that not every single person in the UK can go, oh, do you know what, I'll go traveling and then that'll sort me out and then I'll come out the other side. And I think that's what I've tried to use the stuff, the knowledge, the stuff that I gained whilst I was traveling to kind of help bring that to my program, so that I can get my clients to see, I guess, using through my eyes, if you like. But you know, I wish everybody could just go away and travel, because it is amazing, but you know, not everybody has that opportunity. But I really want clients to sort of have that experience of gaining knowledge from me, knowing that I've been through it and I get it, and coming out the other side and having a better experience of dating, because it should be fun. It shouldn't be depressing and miserable.
I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're learning so much practical wisdom, because that's what I really wanted from this podcast. Now, I just want to quickly say, if you're looking for a team that can actually help you explode and go viral with your personal brand with proven methodologies, I say this because I've been doing this for the past 5 years. We've got a team of 30 people who are ready to go ahead and explode your brand so you can get clients begging to work with you. Have a chat with one of our advisors. You can book in a chat using one of the links around this video, because that chat might just change your life.
I used to struggle with self-esteem issues years ago, and I didn't go traveling, but I was doing like working out, I was going to the gym, I was working on new projects, I was increasing my social skills. So these were the kind of ways that I was exploring new kind of realms beyond my capability, teaching my subconscious that I can do more. And so you're right, like it definitely, you don't need to be a traveler. You definitely can just build your self-esteem where you are. I want to talk about in your program, I mean, you've touched on this quite a bit now. I'm curious. So what are the things that you typically, you mentioned mindset as one thing, but what are other things that you kind of discuss or teach to your clients to help them kind of find that right person?
Yeah, sure. So even though I'm a coach, I'm not a therapist, so I'm not, you know, qualified to go and dig around in people's background 100%. But with dating, even though coaching is forward focused, I think with dating, we need to have a little bit of a look in the rearview mirror to understand why relationships haven't worked. So, you know, what are the obstacles that have been in the way of the past relationships? What worked well, what didn't work well? So I think it's really important for people to understand those things, because if we don't, then it's going to be very, very difficult to move forward. So there is a little bit at the beginning, sort of really doing the groundwork, having a little look backwards. And then the rest of it is quite forward focused. So it's really sort of focusing on, once we know what didn't work in the past and why, we can look at how we can change it and move it forward. So, you know, as with any coach, there'll be a lot of goal setting. There's also a lot of stuff around mindset, self-esteem, confidence, but also things like values. I talk about bang on about values-led dating all the time, because lots of people don't do it. And, you know, when people don't really even understand their values. So I will say to a client who's new, you know, what do you value? And they'll be like, happiness, honesty, excitement. And I'm like, nah, it's boring. Everybody should have, you know, that's a given.
Bare minimum.
Yeah, that is a bare minimum. What is important, right? So we do spend quite a lot of time on values, and it sounds really obvious and really simple, but people really do miss it. So once we've got those in place, it's much easier to then start thinking about what the ideal person looks like. And when I say looks like, I don't mean, well, could be a bit physical, but is like. So what are they going to be like? What kind of person are they going to be? What are they going to be in the world? What do they represent? Who are they? So it's really kind of getting very, very clear. Oh, because this is, I don't know how woo-woo people are or not. And I would always say I'm not very woo-woo. However, there was once back a very, very long time ago when my best friend said to me, she was single as well, and we were both painfully single. We're going to manifest husbands. And I was like, I don't believe in that crap. And she was like, come on, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I'm totally in it now. But anyway, so she was like, yeah, let's manifest it. And I was like, oh God, okay, right. So after a few glasses of wine one night, we were at her house writing all these things down. So we wrote it all down, talked it all through. I thought about it quite a bit, but didn't really think much more of it. She took it away, put it in a drawer. Fast forward a couple of years later, and I've met my husband, and we got engaged. We met and got engaged quite quickly, and then got married quite quick. And on my hen do, she was like, "Guess what I found?" And I was like, "What?" And she pulled out this list. And
Wow!
He is pretty much everything on it,
Love
and
it.
it's just being clear about what you want. Like it sounds so stupid and so simple, but it's really, really important, because I say to people all the time, what do you want? And what they do is they go, well, I don't want. And I'm like, I'm not asking you what you don't want. I'm asking you what you want. Tell me what you want. And people find it really difficult. But if you don't know what you want in dating, you ain't going to find it. So the program is very much about getting clear on that. I also do a dating plan with people, which people are always like, oh yeah, I need some help planning dates. And I'm like, no. This is a dating plan. So this is about the things for you which are important and which are deal breakers, essentially. So a lot of the red flags. So for example, I had one client who said, I have always slept with people on the first date, and I don't want to have sex with people on the first date anymore. So I want that to be on my plan. Great. So we had that on this plan, and then we had on, it was all linked to self-esteem. So we had that, and then we had the sentences or sayings or whatever you want to call it, that he could say to his date to explain why he didn't want to have sex straight away. And it's just things like that. And then often there's things around communication. So somebody might say, if somebody doesn't text back within 24 hours, that's a no from me. So then it's like, okay, that's your bar, that's what is important for you, that's your deal breaker. Here is how you could communicate that to your partner. So it's just, everybody's plan is different because it depends on what's important to them. But I've got clients who will message me now and refer back to their plan. And because it's an open document, it can change. So once we've done it together, I send it to you and you can change it whenever you want. And people stick to it. And I think it's really useful because when you're in something with somebody, you're emotionally invested and you like that person, and the hormones are going and the pheromones are going. And it's very, very easy to ignore red flags. And it's very, very easy just to go, oh, well, it's okay, I really like this guy, so I'll ignore the fact that he hasn't texted me for 3 days. Whereas actually, if you've got it on a plan that you've done when you're not emotionally invested in anybody, it works quite well.
Yeah.
So we do that so that when people go back into dating, they know what is acceptable to them. And then the final part of the program, I literally handhold people back into dating. So actually, I forgot to mention, I get people to stop dating for the first 8 weeks of the program. And the reason that I do that is because before, when I didn't, I would get people turning up and they'd be like, right, I got this text and I don't know what it means. What's this text? What should I send? What should I send back? And it's like, well, you can ask your mate in the pub, right? You've paid for this time. Let's work on you, because otherwise, if I'm just trying to decipher a text from somebody I've never met, this is really not a good use of your time. So I ask people to stop dating. So like no situationships, no internet dating, delete the apps. And obviously I can't make people stop, but it just gives you permission to stop dating. It gives you permission to delete the apps. It gives you permission to just detox and have a step back. And I think some people go, oh, I'm not doing that. I can't do it, because they're still of the mindset that if they come off the apps, that's when their partner will be on the apps and they'll miss them.
It's like it's like a FOMO mindset, fear of missing.
100%. Yeah, total FOMO mindset. And it's like, actually, no. And so when clients do it, they're like, oh, it's quite nice. I no pressure. Like, this is good. And it just feels nice. But then we do the work, and then in the final few weeks, they go back into dating, whether it be online, organically, events, whatever. And we will do that together. So we'll set up a profile, we'll write that for them, get some photos done, start sending messages, prep them before a date, debrief after a date, all that kind of stuff. So it's essentially bringing everything that we've done to the end, and hopefully by the end they'll be out and dating.
What do you, I mean, I can see you mentioned, you know, your program has a 70% plus success rate. So I can see now, given the fact that it's so strategic and methodical, what do you advise when their values, like they're very clear on their values, but there's a lot of them to the point where it's almost like, is this even realistic? Like, is there even a person like this? What do you advise to that?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh. That's the opposite of sometimes what I get as well, because I'll get people saying things like, well, he has to be over 6 foot. This is the classic. Can't date anybody who's not over 6 foot. Okay, but you're 5'5". And honestly, it's like when you do things like that, you're shrinking the pool. You're shrinking the pool considerably. So people put these things in the values box. And so I get it, that's fine. You being very, very specific is important, but you need to know which ones you can acquiesce on. Because if you meet a guy and he's 5'11", are you going to be like, sorry, he's perfect, but he's 5'11", or even 5'9", because the average height of guys in the UK is 5'9", FYI. So things like that, you can, you know, things like that I encourage people to acquiesce on, because it just shrinks your pool. Things like children, as I mentioned before about, you know, guy that I dated, he didn't want children. That's a huge one. It's a massive one. So if you know fundamentally deep down you do not want children, that's got to be the way it is. And the person you date would have to also not want to have children, because it's just not going to work down the line. But you know, there's lots of other things. You know, but values are so important. It's important to get everything that you want down, but it's also important to be clear on what you can acquiesce on. So that's kind of what we really get focused on in the program as well.
So work out the non-negotiables, and then outside of the non-negotiables, look at flexibility there, and then work out where these people basically hang out aligned with the non-negotiable values. Okay.
So the non-negotiables and the desirables.
Exactly. No, I get it. I love that. I want to talk about your business. So how did you end up getting your first client in this?
Getting my first client. Well, I started off doing sort of coaching for free, because, you know, I needed some testimonials and things like that. So I posted on I posted on a local Facebook page and recruited a few people from there, which was really helpful, because it kind of allowed me to practice my, you know, I had the bones of the program, but I didn't know if it would work and in which particular order and how I wanted to deliver it. So, you know, having clients like that really helped me hone my skills and get the program where I wanted it to, and obviously get the testimonials. And my first ever client, she is still in a relationship with the guy that she met at the point during the program. So that's great.
Wow.
So I can't even remember who my first paying client was. Do you know what? I started posting in social media, and I'll start by saying I am not a social media person. So by the time I started this business, I was literally just on Facebook as my, you know, that's all I did. I didn't do Instagram, I didn't do LinkedIn, Snapchat, whatever else was going on at the time. I literally posted on Facebook so that my parents could see my child and where I was going on holiday and that kind of thing. So I've always had, you know, I talked about the not good enoughs and in dating. I found a lot of that. I've managed a lot of that throughout my life as well. You know, they're not pretty enough, they're not smart enough, they're not rich enough, they're not, you know, all that stuff. So social media just still gives me the ick. And I've really had to put myself out there, because obviously this is where people find you, this is how people get to know you. So I've really tried hard with social media. So I'm now on Instagram, but for me, LinkedIn has been the biggest one. I found it a really good place to kind of become part of a community and build sort of a community around me and around other people. So I am in a paid community via LinkedIn, and it's great. Like, it's just been a really good way to get to know people and for recommendations and referrals. That's been my biggest source of clients, to be honest.
Amazing. So you mentioned a paid community in LinkedIn.
Yeah. So it's not my community. It's a woman called Leah Turner. So I don't know if you would have heard of her at all. So she set up her own business via LinkedIn to train people in LinkedIn, and then she's going to stop that soon because she's just built this community of of entrepreneurs, coaches, people who work on their own basically, and it's great. And it's been a really good place to kind of say what I do, sort of highlight what I do, and pick up people from there. So it's been really great.
Amazing. I love that. So it's kind of like a mix of, it's basically social word of mouth. So it's word of mouth on social media, basically.
Yeah, and I do you know, it's been the word of mouth thing is really lovely. I've had quite a few clients this year who have come, oh, so and so told me about you, so can I sign up with you? And so that's been really, really nice because it really makes you think, all right, okay, I'm definitely doing this right if people are referring to me. So that's great. But they're definitely, you know, I don't do any paid advertising. Maybe I should do. It makes me panic, the idea of, I did once try to look at Facebook ads, and I'm not techie at all. It's another thing. And, you know, this is, you know, as I said to you earlier, like I was a probation officer before I started doing this. So I always worked in a system. So you get a phone, you get a laptop, and the system was there. You just got back in and you did it. And so since starting the business, you know, I've had to learn about social media, money, you know, bank, you know, the company's a limited company. Who knew about all the things you have to do when you've got a limited company? I'll tell you about a disastrous decision I made. I shouldn't really talk about this, but I will. I got blackmailed by a client. So I didn't understand about, well, I did about you know, GDPR and things like that, and having a privacy notice on your website and all that kind of stuff. I knew it was a thing. I've got a friend who works in that area for a well-known organization, so she wrote my privacy policy for me brilliantly. Looked awesome, and I was like, that's great. But I didn't upload it onto my website because I just didn't think, because I've never had to do that before. And so he really wasn't a very pleasant man, and he basically threatened with all kinds of things because I hadn't done this, and he was like, I'm going to report me to the ICO. So I didn't even know that was a thing. So again, it's like, oh, you have to pay £40 to be part of this ICO. I didn't know. I hadn't avoided it. I just didn't know it was a thing. So, you know, I'm still learning. 3 years in, I'm still learning. So in my ignorance of when I started this business, I thought, I'm going to be working with people. I'm going to be helping people with their dating. I'm going to be matchmaking. I'm going to be coaching. It's going to be awesome. I had no idea about the rest of it that goes with it, and it's been an absolute baptism of fire. But I still definitely mostly prefer the coaching and the matchmaking bit. People are much better than social media and policies and insurance and whatever else I need to do.
I mean, whenever students and clients come to us and they say like word of mouth has been like their priority channel, it's always a good news, because it's saying that if you had a personal brand, it's the equivalent of the word of mouth thing, but on steroids, right? Because if you were the go-to person within dating, that's basically what's happening right now, right? Just on a very, very small scale, right? People are talking about you because they're saying this person's the go-to person for this for this service. So personal brand is basically that on steroids. So I wouldn't even go down ads. I would actually go down just building your personal brand, to be honest. Like ads will get you to a result quicker, but it's a lot more complicated, and obviously has a high capital upfront cost. Whereas if you just build your personal brand, I mean, which you're doing, right? You're posting content and all that stuff. I mean, you mentioned obviously you're struggling a little bit. So what's kind of like holding you back? What are the struggles you're facing when it comes to social media?
Do you know what? It's funny because all the things I talk to my clients about, I've got to start preaching, but it is the confidence stuff and it is the mindset stuff. So it's like I'm working on my mindset around, you know, I hate the way again, being here with you, it's like I hate the way that I sound. When I listen to myself back, I'm like, oh, I don't sound like that. In my head, I don't sound like that. I don't like the way I look on camera. And it's like I've just got to get over myself. And I think it's like not the anxiety, but like oh my God, people might see me. People might judge me. People, you know, and when I think back to whatever year it was when internet dating became a bit of a thing, but it was still a bit of a, you don't tell people you're doing it because it's too embarrassing to tell people you're online. And that it was the same kind of thing. Like I was single and I wanted to go on the internet because I wanted to find a partner, but I was too worried that people might see me, and then I'd be really embarrassed and ashamed, even though the people that saw me would also be obviously on there doing the same thing. And it's the same with social media, you know, like everyone's on there putting themselves out. And I look at these people who just speak so easily and so clearly and chat away to the camera, and I think, oh, that's what I need to do. I'm getting better, but I, you know, and it being in the community helps. Leah's constantly saying, right, you need to do a video, you need to do this, you need to do that, and that's great, because I do, you know, it's accountability. I'm so used to being in a team and bouncing ideas off people that when I came to start the business on my own, suddenly that isn't there. It's much harder, and you need somebody to say, no, come on, get off your butt, do a video.
No, absolutely. Like, I mean, you touched on accountability there, you touched on system structures. Like, I'm literally thinking about every single client who's come to us feeling shy. And you can even scroll back to like their first few videos and like you can see they're shy on camera. But because we're holding them accountable, we're sending them scripts to record every 2 weeks, right? So we're sending them scripts to record. We're doing all the editing process and all that stuff after that. But we're holding them accountable by sending those scripts, and equally posts are going out every day, regardless of how they feel, right? So it's like emotion's been removed, systems have been put in place, the structure's been put in place. You look at them now and they're just like confident as hell on camera. They're going viral from it. So I definitely agree. Like, accountability and structure can definitely overcome that. I mean, I say that for myself as well, because I actually didn't want to be public facing for a long time. And literally I got the team to build an account for me, and we're already on track 10,000 followers, because system in place, structure in place, accountability in place, like you end up just being forced into it, and it grows. So I definitely agree. I
think it's consistency as well. I don't know about you, but like I can be like, right, great, yeah, and I'll do like a month of like boom, boom, boom every day. Great, yeah, I'm really happy with all this, and then I'm like, oh,
yeah,
get like content fatigue,
right? Like, consistency will come with a structure in place, with a system in place, right? So like, regardless of how I feel today, you know what you basically said, right? Like, I feel super motivated today, I'm going to do more. I don't feel motivated today, I'm not going to do anything. Regardless of how I feel, posts are going out because a team are like putting out posts. So irrespective of my feelings and emotions, things are happening and things are moving. And regardless, I will still get scripts being sent to me, and I will still have to show up and record this. So it's like the system overcomes any of that. That's why I'm always, in general, with motivation, I'm very big on systems. I was struggling with motivation with the gym at one point, so I hired a personal trainer. You know, he makes sure I'm in the gym. He makes sure I do leg day, which I hate doing. So it's like, it's the system I put in place to make sure that I'm up and I'm going to. So I'm big on, and same for my, like, I don't like cooking, and I always forget to eat, and I always forget to make food, and it gets to like 10 p.m. and I'm just not eating. So I put in a system. I ordered a meal delivery service that comes every day. So this way my calories are being counted for, my protein is being counted for, my food is like coming on time. You know, you put a system in place to overcome that. So I'm big on this stuff, huge on systems. And I genuinely think
my systems need to be better. And I think that's the thing though, but you know, like I've worked with coaches in the past who've like promised to help me, get me in systems, and, you know, help me with this and help me with that. And I think because I've done better on LinkedIn, because I tend to I have no structure and I have no system. I literally just post about whatever is important to me that day, what I've spoken to a client about, or what I've passed in my life as I'm plodding along. And that kind of works for me. And I write as if I'm talking. And that seems to work for me on LinkedIn, but it doesn't transfer across to Instagram as well, which I think is why I've struggled there. So I need a better system for Instagram, but because I have better success on LinkedIn, I focus on that more.
Yeah. Whatever works on LinkedIn won't necessarily work on Instagram. Like, it's two different platforms.
100%.
But I do think, I mean, given by the conversation that we've had today, like, imagine someone was listening to a video of you explaining your 11 years of being single. You know, something like that. People, like you said it yourself, right? People appreciate relatability. Now, how do you communicate relatability? It's through video, right? Video, you can get across your energy, you can get across your words, you can get across your thoughts, and suddenly people are able to understand, like, oh, like, maybe I should be working with this person. So yeah, I personally think that it can be transformational, and I've seen it happen. We've had clients go from like 0, literally 200 followers, to like 200,000, and then they're getting hired by like Pepsi and spotted by the DOJ and like all this other stuff. So I definitely believe in it. I think someone's just knocking. No, we're good. Okay, final couple questions. What's the goal for 2025?
Do you know what I said to you before, like we're living in Bali at the moment, so it's been really nice to have some space and time to really think about the business, because at home it's, you know, back in the UK it's just so frenetic and everything's going on, and but I've had some time here and I've got a couple of things in the pipeline. One of them is a YouTube channel, because I've got lots of ideas for that. Things that, you know, there are lots of people doing relationship stuff out there, but I've got a couple of ideas, but I'll keep that to myself. So I'm working with a designer, and we're hopefully going to launch that before Christmas, which will be really amazing. I'm really excited about that. So that's going to be awesome. The other thing is kind of setting up a community, and there's been a lot of chat around this school, and I know obviously because of, you know, like Alex Hormozi's promoting school thing, but it's kind of made me think about things differently and what people are doing. And when I did go in and have a little look around on there, and there's not that much in there around dating, because everyone's doing it around business.
Yep.
One of the ideas that I wanted to do, which isn't being done anywhere, is to have a community for people who are relationship or inexperienced in relationships and sexually inexperienced. So there's not really anywhere, you know, if you're, you know, you could be 17 and never have had sex or never had a relationship, or you could be 37 or 47 or 57, and, you know, where do people go to have a conversation and just say, you know, I've never kissed anybody, or I've never had sex, and, you know, I'm nervous to do that because I'm 37, like, help. So I want to kind of create a community around that, because I think that would be, you know, niche down a little bit on the side of everything else that I do, but I just think it would be something that would be useful for people. But we'll see. These were things in the pipeline.
No, I definitely think you should do that. Yeah, and school would be we use school. I think it's a great platform, great opportunity for many people to be able to connect with each other. And if you hosted like live, you know, workshop events or something like that every couple of weeks, that way they can learn from you, gauge your energy, and then you can turn those listeners into clients eventually, right? So it almost becomes its own funnel. So
I was planning on like trying to, I'm prioritizing the YouTube channel at the moment and my current clients, but when I do get around to this community, so I want to have a program there that's specific for people. So they can come in and they can do the program, then have the community, and then I'll host like weekly workshops and webinars, and then maybe have like coffee mornings where people can just drop in, ask questions, and disappear off again. I
mean, I would be the entrepreneur and just fire before you aim, to be honest. So I would actually set up the community. I would start getting people in. I would start the coffee mornings at least. And as you see it grow, you'll be more motivated to build out that kind of course for them to start exploring.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted people to have a reason to sign up first, I guess. I mean, obviously it'll be a free community to start with. I guess that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, it's free, come and join us, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Once I've got the YouTube channel going, then I'm going to focus on that, because I can't cope with more. I get sucked in by shiny things. So I'm one of those people that is like scrolling on Instagram and there's like, oh, you can have like 30 new clients in one day. Have you got space for this? Or you can earn £100,000 in 5 days. And you're like, oh, yes, please. And I get sucked into all these new things. And if you go through my junk folder, because they always go to the junk, you know, you're like, oh my God, oh yeah, I remember that person. Oh, and they email every day. So I'm trying to focus on one thing at a time. And now that I've got more breathing space, I want to give it my all. I really want this YouTube channel to work. And then once that's up and running, then I can start thinking about the community, because I do think that'll be really useful for people.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know you just said YouTube channel, then community. But the concept of community, which is basically building an audience, I would keep that in conjunction with building a YouTube channel. So it's almost like, to build a YouTube channel, you need community. You need to be building an audience consistently. You need to be posting on Instagram. You need to be posting on LinkedIn. And slowly your YouTube channel will grow. Like, we've had clients who've like exploded their YouTube channel, but that all came because they were posting on these platforms. I would keep that in mind as you're growing it. And yeah, absolutely. I think it will. When's the first one going to come out so our listeners can hear?
I don't know yet. I will let you know.
Okay, fair enough.
We're still developing at the moment.
Yeah, nice. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. So I want to finally ask you, Laura, where can our viewers and our listeners get in touch? Will it be Instagram? Will it be LinkedIn? Email? Both? All of it?
Oh, All of the above. So yeah, on LinkedIn, just as myself, Laura Buckley. On Instagram, it's at secret_alchemy_. And then email is laura@secretalchemy.co.uk.
I really hope you enjoyed this podcast. I want you to go away and execute everything there is that you've learned. Now, one thing I will say is if you're in a position where you're ready to actually take things to another level, you want structured, clear guidance, you want a team that can actually help accelerate you, book in a chat with our advisors. Why? We can blow up your personal brand to attract clients begging to work with you. All you got to do is book in a chat with our advisors and we can help make it happen. Sound fair enough?